our session on how to use Google Drive, and I have my good friend Jessica Wagner here to walk us through everything. Jessica, thank you so much for walking us through this. Google Drive is one of the most important things you're going to need to know when it comes to doing anything with Google. So Jessica, take it away.
Thank you, Nikki. Hi, I'm Jessica Wagner. I'm from Livingston Parish in Louisiana. I am a Google enthusiast and a Google certified trainer. Thanks, Nikki, for asking me to be part of Google Guardians. I think it's wonderful that we are teaching parents and students how to access and use their Google tools. So tonight, I'm going to show you how to use Google Attachments and Google Drive. The first thing I want to show you is how to access Google Drive. And there are actually multiple ways. If you're a student and you're using Google Classroom, you can access the drive directly from your classroom. So I've created a sample classroom here. If you have a student, simply click on the class that you would like to access the drive for. If you click on the Classwork tab, you'll see over here on the right-hand side that you have a class drive folder. If you want to access your drive when you're not necessarily in Google Classroom, you can go to drive.google.com. You can actually search your drive from here. Or you can go directly to the website. You can use the Drive app on a smartphone, or if you're logged into Google or on Gmail, any Google application, you can click over here on what we like to call the waffle, and it shows you all of your Google apps, which includes your Google Drive. Now, because Google Guardians is specifically centered on parents and helping students, the first thing I want to show you is how it relates to Google Classroom and assignments. When a student first gets their Google account, their drive is going to be completely empty. The first thing that's going to happen when a student joins Google Classroom is that Google is going to create this classroom folder. Anytime a student joins a new class, Google is going to add another folder specifically for coursework for that class. All coursework that the teacher automatically creates for the student is going to populate in this folder. The student will not have to organize these at all. They're auto-generated. Let's take a look at how we can navigate around our drive. If you see your menu here on the left, you have the option to create new files for your drive. You can upload files from your computer, or you can simply create a new Google Doc, Sheets, Slides, Forms, any of your Google applications that allow you to create files. You can create a new folder to keep your student organized. You might have projects that they're going to be working on and you want to file them all in the same folder. You have different options here as to what you want to see on your main screen. Priority is going to be the things that you've accessed most recently or most often. This is the Drive homepage. If you click this down arrow, it'll show you all of the folders in your Google Drive. If you click down on an arrow next to a folder, it's going to show you the subfolders in that drive. So you can see an outline of all of the folders that you have in your Google Drive. You'll also have an option to see shared drives. If your student creates a drive with another student for homework help, they can collaborate here on files together. You'll also have a Shared with Me tab. This is any file that your student has had access to but doesn't belong to your student. It will show in the Shared with Me file. You can go to your Recent tab to see the files that your student has worked on most recently. And then we have a Starred tab. And I'm going to show you when we get into a file how you can add a star to a file so that it'll pop up in this folder. Now, It'll be in this folder, but that doesn't mean that it'll move from its original folder. Think of this as, I really need to keep track of these. They're very important. You're going to star those documents. Let's take a look in Google Classroom and how these assignments create attachments. On this example that I posted yesterday, it's showing you, this is where you turn in the work. On this assignment, the teacher has forced a copy for the student. As I showed you, that shows up in the student's Google Drive folder for that classroom. The student does not have to create anything. The student simply opens the file from the assignment and can complete the work here. Now, as you know, Google automatically saves everything. We love that, especially as teachers. Students don't have to remember to save anything. When they're finished, they simply close the assignment and they can click Turn In. Now, something that I've had happen is that students will accidentally remove that work and they think it's gone forever. Many students are not aware of how to use their Google Drive and how to find files in their Google Drive. No worries. They simply go to the Add or Create button, click on Google Drive, and the file is still there. If it just got deleted, it's going to be right here in the Recent tab. If it was deleted maybe a few days ago, they have multiple teachers that use Google Drive, it's been shuffled around, then they can simply go to My Drive, go to their classroom folder, find the classroom they're looking for, and it is going to still be located in that folder. They can reattach it, insert, no problem, it is ready to be turned in. Now, once they click Turn In, this doc is submitted to the teacher. They can still access it in their drive, but you'll notice if you open an attachment on an assignment that's been turned in, you have this Request Edit Access button. That means your student can no longer make changes to this document because it belongs to the teacher. If you need to change this, the teacher hasn't graded it yet, you can simply go back to the assignment and click Unsubmit. Once you unsubmit, the student has all editing access to the file again. You can make whatever changes you need to make and reattach it to the assignment. Now, some teachers don't force copies. Maybe it's because not every student needs the same attachment, or maybe that teacher doesn't know how to do that yet. Google Classroom is still relatively new to a lot of teachers. So they may create an assignment, and in the directions, it will tell the student, make a copy of the attachment, complete their work, attach it to the assignment, and turn it in. In this case, there are a couple more steps involved. You would click on the assignment that was created. The student will have view-only access because this document belongs to the teacher. They cannot request edit access. They will have to click File, Make a Copy. In this case, it's a slides presentation, so they would want the entire presentation. And it's going to ask the student to rename the document. Some teachers may tell them to give it a specific name. Some may not care. But they can change the name of the document, and then underneath it, they can choose the folder they would like to store it in. And this is important because the longer a student works in Google Classroom and works in Google Drive, the more crowded their Google Drive is going to become. So if they can get in the habit of saving this in the appropriate folder, it will save them time later. So you simply navigate with the arrows through your folders, find the folder that you would like to save it in, and select. The student selects OK, and it will force a copy into their Google Drive. Now, the problem here is the student has a copy, and they're going to do their work, But if they don't attach this to the assignment, there's no way for the teacher to see their work. So in order to get credit for this assignment, the student will have to go to Add or Create, go to the Google Drive, and find that file. As I said earlier, if they just worked on it, it's going to be right here. So I recommend get your students in the habit of, as soon as they make a copy of an assignment, if that file needs to be turned in, you can attach it to the assignment before you even start working on it. Because until you click Turn In, you're going to have editing access. Once it's attached, it's not going anywhere unless you delete it. But now the teacher can see it. So once you're finished with it, it's the same as if the teacher had made a copy. You click Turn In. Now, there's another option for sharing your work with your teachers. Not all teachers may be aware of how to check their shared folder, so I wouldn't recommend this for most teachers, but you do have the share option in the top right-hand corner. Now, here you can type in the email address of the person that you would like to share it with. If you're sharing it with a teacher, it's no problem if you make them an editor. But if I wanted to share this, I'm going to pretend that I'm sharing it with Nikki. It says, control who can share, download, copy, and print this file. Because depending who I'm sharing it with, I may want them to be able to change it and I may not. So we have the option to share it where they can view it, they can comment on it, or they have all the same editing rights that the owner, the student, has. Now, it says notify people, but depending on settings with the district or personal settings on Gmail, they may not receive a notification. So it could be shared with a teacher and the teacher would not know unless they knew to specifically go look for that assignment. Teachers may ask students to share files with them in this way because they are checking for them regularly. But I would not share a file in this way if the teacher was not expecting it. I would attach it directly to the assignment to make sure that my teacher sees it. And you can also share it with a link. You can change the privacy settings. You can change this, make this anyone with the link. And you have the same options, viewer, commenter, editor here. So let's talk about moving things around and viewing them in our Google Drive. So we have a file here. Now, if this was something that my student was working on and we needed it almost every day, it was a week-long project, I might want to star this. I mentioned that earlier, so that it would go here to my starred folder. And I have two options. I can open the assignment, and it's going to give me the option here that I can star it, and that will move it into my starred folder. Or with any file, I can right-click and add to starred. And I have a lot of options here when I right-click. I can preview my file if I don't want to open it. I have options on how I want to open my file, depending on the file type. The way that I just showed you to share from the document is also accessible here on this menu. The option to get the link, so you don't even have to click share. You can skip that step and go straight to the link. You can add it to a workspace. You can show the file location. If this was in my recent or starred folder, and I couldn't remember which folder I had stored it in, and I wanted it to show me the file location, I would click here. If this is a file that I don't have access to edit, and I didn't need a copy of my own, I just wanted to be able to reference it, I could add a shortcut to Drive. I can move my files. I accidentally put it in the wrong folder. I don't want to open it to move it. I can move it from here. I can easily rename my file from here. I can view the details of my file, make another copy if I'm using a template, okay, or I can download it to my computer from here. Now, you may have students working on your computer at home and not necessarily connected to a Google app or a Google project, and their teacher wanted them to make a presentation and they made it in PowerPoint and the teacher wants it in Google Slides. Do they have to remake that? Absolutely not. They can go to New, File Upload. You can find that presentation. Let's see. Open it and upload a PowerPoint presentation file to Google Classroom. I can right-click, open with Google Slides, and I can easily, you'll notice here that it's telling me this is a PowerPoint presentation. I can go to File, Save as Google Slides, and Google is going to convert this PowerPoint into a Google Slides file for me. And I recommend at this point, if the teacher said it has to be Google Slides, go ahead, go back to the PowerPoint. You can see the little icon down here tells me that this is my PowerPoint, this is my Google Slide, and go ahead and move the one that I don't need to the trash. I can right-click and select Move to Trash, or I can simply click on it and hit the delete button on my keyboard, and that will move it to my trash. So now I have that PowerPoint, and it is now a Google Slides presentation. Works the same way if I want to upload a Microsoft Word assignment. I typed it in Microsoft Word, but now I want it to be a Google Doc. I simply attach it, upload it. You'll see here that this is a Microsoft Word attachment. I can double click. It's automatically going to open a Word file in Google Docs. I'm going to go to File, Save as Google Doc, and it's going to automatically convert the file for me. Every now and then there may have been a formatting error that you'll have to adjust a little bit, but usually it converts very easily. A tool that I like to show parents on Google Docs that's very helpful for students that they may not be aware of, and you can use it in Google Docs on the desktop, or you can use it in Google Docs on a smartphone app. If you go to Tools, there is a voice typing tool. This is great for students that are not very proficient typers, or honestly, some students that would prefer to talk out their ideas before actually writing them down. They can do it all at the same time now. So you just click on the voice typing tool. You click here to speak. And you simply tell the computer what you would like it to type on the Google Doc, period. You do have to add the punctuation, period. Once you're finished with your voice dictation, you will probably have to go in and fix any formatting and add extra punctuation because people tend to ramble on when they're talking, more so when they're focusing on typing, but this is a very useful tool. Now, another thing that I like to show parents is I've edited this document. Students will sometimes accidentally delete half of an essay. I've seen it happen, and they panic. It's not a problem. If you click right here on any of your Google apps, It saves all of the work you do, and you can simply revert back to former versions and get anything that you may have accidentally deleted.
Jessica, I'm going to pop in here and say that is by far one of the best tips, I think, of all the sessions. So many parents and so many students have texted or messaged in a panic because they were working and it's gone, but it's not gone. So thank you for covering that, because that's amazing.
You're welcome. It also helps when students tell their parents that they did the work, and you can say, let me show you how to check. You can see how much time your child spent on this assignment. And it's very nice to be able to show parents step by step what their student worked through, or perhaps what didn't get finished. So if I had accidentally deleted something, I could simply restore the former version and it would be right there. Or if I only needed part of something, I could take it from here and put it back on the original assignment. So, navigating the drive. As time goes on and your student is in Google Classroom longer and longer, you are going to have a plethora of docs and files to sort through. Google makes it extremely easy to search the drive. You can click here and you can actually filter what you're searching for by a variety of things. You can search specifically by file types. So say I know that what I'm looking for is a Google Doc. So I can click Google Docs, and if I search a keyword, doesn't matter if that keyword is in a ton of other files, it's only going to show me the Google Docs that have that keyword. I can search for a file that's in my drive that perhaps a teacher shared with me. So if I know that a certain teacher shared this with me, I can search by that teacher's name. I can search a specific folder in my drive. If I have one folder that has a ton of files in it, and I know it's somewhere in that folder, but I can't remember what I named it, I can search that folder by keyword. Now, here's what I think will be most helpful for students, and that is searching by when they modified an assignment. I can't remember what the assignment is. I can't remember where I put it, but I do know that I was working on it this week, or I do know that I was working on it this morning. I can filter assignments by the last time they were worked on. Then we can search by file name. We can search by words in the file itself. Okay, or if we shared it with someone. So many options to narrow down trying to find where a file is, especially if a student doesn't remember what it's named, because honestly, most of the time they're not paying attention to the file name. They're just thinking about what was in it and which class it was for. Now, Google has these amazing shortcuts in your drive. They've eliminated the need to click on anything. If you type in a question mark, it will show you all of the Google Drive shortcuts. So you can move around your Google Drive using only your keyboard, which I think is pretty cool. You can add files, you can create folders, documents, presentations, okay, all of these things simply by clicking on your keyboard without having to use your mouse, file uploads, all of these. All you have to do if you want to create a new file is press the letter C on your keyboard. So in order to get to this, all I did was type a question mark while I was in my Google Drive. Another thing that I have found extremely helpful is The ability to take pictures with your phone with the Google Drive app and upload an image. Once you upload that image to Google Drive, if you need the image, it's there. But if this is an image of text, you can convert that text to a Google Doc. I found this extremely helpful when trying to make copies of handouts or notes or information that students need. They don't have to retype all of this information. If they take a picture of text, it will convert that image into a Google Doc. You really liked that revision tool. So I'm going to show you another tool that I think would be very helpful for our students. So this is a 5-paragraph essay outline. Say your student was researching for this essay. If you look down here in the right-hand corner, your student doesn't even have to leave their Google Drive in order to explore information that they may need for this assignment. If you click Explore, you can search your entire drive for the docs or files that you have related to this assignment, and you can search the internet for things that are related to this assignment. So if this was an essay about George Washington, I can search George Washington. I can search the internet for information about George Washington. I can search for images of George Washington. Oh, look, that one's really cool. Pop it directly into my Google Doc, and I can search my drive. I don't have any files in my drive about George Washington, so I didn't save any of my research yet. But if I was on the internet and I found this really interesting article about George Washington, and I used it for my essay, Google Docs also has a citation tool where you can add citations directly to your document, and it asks for all of the information that you need. I just learned this one recently, and as a teacher, I found it to be exceptionally helpful.
So I don't know if anybody knows this, but I taught English too, and that, or English as well. And that tip is amazing because there are so many errors that come into play there. So I love that you're showing that too. They are getting all kinds of good stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the last thing that I want to talk about is just kind of extras, organizing your Google Drive. So if you have multiple folders in your Google Drive, you can actually change the color of your folder. I like to number my folders that I use most often in my personal Google Drive. If it's a folder that I know I need to access every single day, I put a number 1 in front of it because it's going to alphabetize your folders automatically. And you can also star folders specifically so that if you know you're going to access this folder every day, you can put it in starred. If you know you're going to access this folder, but also 4 or 5 more every day, I like to number mine. And Nikki, I think that's just about.
That is amazing. I just, in the chat, I just put a website because I actually also organize my Google Drive. I do it by number and I do it by color because I am a huge fan of anything that has colors. I just love colors everywhere. So I have it organized by the numbers and by color. In the chat, I have dropped our website, or about to drop a website. It's called copypastecharacter.com. And that way you can get numbers that are with a circle around it and you can kind of organize it like that. We'll get that in there for you. But other than that, Jessica, I think you did an amazing job One of our comments was from a Facebook user that says you speak very clearly and it's easy to follow you. So thank you very much for that. All kinds of comments like, this is so good. This is great. Ian said, I know a lot of students that just loads of disorganized stuff, and all of this is going to help get them organized. Just like they come home from school with the backpack stuffed in there, your Google Drive can become a virtual stuffed backpack. So
Yes.
this is a good way to keep things nice, neat, and pretty.
Yes, and get them started, because the longer they use the Google Drive, the more it's going to build up.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, that wraps it up for this session. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, Jessica, for walking us through that. It was wonderful. And any more videos, or all of the videos, any more that you want to see, is down here at our website, bit.ly/GGuardians. Every website video resource from this series is located here. Parents, if you liked a presentation, you can find it, and you can find a video of it. So please visit us, fill out our survey, let us know where you're from, and keep on doing what you're doing. We know you're working hard, and we appreciate it, and we know your kids do too. Bye.